Bada bing, bada boom.
Well, what is going on?
What
Another
is up?
week. Another week is here, my friend. How are you?
Another week has passed. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. As many people know, I'm in the great state of Texas, and we got snowed on this week. So we retained our power, which is a good thing. We did not do well last time we lost power, and the snow is basically gone at this point. So I'm doing pretty good, man. How about
Nice.
yourself?
I can't believe, another week had gone by. I was just like kind of working today and tinkering,
Yeah,
and it's like, holy
and we are
shit, we gotta
back.
gotta get ready for another stream here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I've been great. It's pretty nice here. I'm out in the Vancouver area and checked out a beach this week. It's a lot nicer than some areas of Canada. Some areas of
A
Canada
beach
are
in Canada?
freaking cold. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
buddy. We
How
got
how cold? Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it cold over there? Yeah.
where I am, it's pretty darn nice. Like today it was 10 degrees
Oh wow.
Celsius. I don't do Fahrenheit. But like the original place I'm from in Canada, Edmonton area or like Alberta is more central. It's like
Yeah.
-20 probably. So Vancouver's been very kind to me. And yeah, Texas was amazing
Cool.
when I
Well,
was there.
guys, we got a really cool episode tonight. Once again, if you're tuning in for the first time, we're kind of doing these in a structured format. These are our fourth or fifth episode now,
I
but
believe
they kind of
today's
go
the
in
fifth.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the fifth, and they kind of go in order, kind of like an order of operations. So if you have time to go back and watch the other ones, because we're kind of
Hmm.
doing this as like an informational series of how to structurally build your mindset around the relationship of food, data analytics with weight loss, exercise principles, all that kind of good stuff. And today we are covering eating out, which is
Yeah.
difficult to do,
Yeah.
especially in America. So, not that it's not difficult in other countries. It is as well. It's basically difficult everywhere, right? It's Canada as well. It's pretty much a shit show everywhere you go. So we're gonna be
Yep.
talking a lot about that, how to be effective with it, how to be clever with it, and how if you are utilizing it, during a weight loss phase specifically, how to do so effectively and become more aware of what is actually going down when we go
Hmm.
out to dinner or lunch or whatever. So,
Yeah.
gonna be an exciting one, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Episodes 1 through 4 were really, really fundamental, I think. Lots of like information just to set the groundwork to kind of work from there and have some of the information or some of the working assumptions that we believe in and that we kind of purvey as something that we'll kind of rely on to guide us through this space. Today, yeah, a little more general, just can you eat out? How do you eat out and lose weight? Or depending on what your goal is, can you include that? It's a pretty hot topic, pretty common topic. I love eating out. I'm sure if you're a person, you love eating out. It's a good
Mhm.
time. I enjoy it. So yeah, I think we're gonna hit a lot of common questions and a lot of people's interest or concerns about this area. So if you got some questions, get them in, and we'll do our best to answer and kind of talk to you about how we view eating out. Um, I think again, you're gonna get a pretty moderate take. We don't classify it like as quote unquote good or quote unquote bad, whereas there's a lot of influencers in this space that are like McDonald's is bad or Subway is good or whatever the shit it is, right? We're not going to give you the just blank or straight out statements. We're going to give you some context and some nuance. And again, like we always say, depending on what the statement is, we could probably always make it true or false depending on the context.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you guys have, places you like to eat out a lot, or things that you're like, yo, I would never be able to make this work. Losing weight, I can promise you, we can make it work. Losing weight, it just you
Hmm.
need to be a bit more clever about it and utilize some of the tools that have always really readily been available for a long time. We're just not really acquainted with,
Hmm.
nor are they really talked about in culture for a number of reasons, which we will not get into tonight. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you have questions about places you like to go to, Wendy's, Chipotle, um, certain kind of restaurants, certain kind of food groups, that kind of stuff, we'll go into like an example what that would look like. I've pretty much done all of them at this point, with at this point thousands of people. But what I'll run through on my end is a few of the nutrition calculators that a lot of these places have, and then some common techniques and things to do and look for if you're depending on the calorie range you're in, that could work really well. While not only hitting your goals, but also be able to maintain kind of the experience that you want going out to eat from a cultural aspect, a social aspect, especially if it's with, significant other, family, friends, stuff like that. You don't want to be the person that's like, oh, I can't go because I'm like dieting, or I can't go because I'm trying to lose weight, or I can't go because like I don't know what I'm going to be eating calorie wise. Like that doesn't work well. You can be that person, but like it's not going to last for a long time. That
Yeah.
will not stand the test of time. You cannot be that person eating chicken and broccoli in like a little, container, and everybody's like, oh, that really sucks. Like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be around you if you're doing that. And that's
Yeah.
fair. So we want to try to mix the best of both of those worlds.
Yeah. And just have the tools and realize there are tools available to incorporate the things that you want into your lifestyle. Some of those might be a little more difficult than others, but they are doable and attainable.
Yeah, 100%. We could start with I'm trying to think which one we could start with first. Let's start with Wendy's first, because that one's pretty easy, I feel like, to go over real quick.
Sure. Yeah, so let's just put the question straight to you, Ryan, to start with. Can you
Okay.
eat out and still lose weight? Can you do it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to do, honestly. Now, what we need to frame before I get into this, guys, because I don't want to have people in the chat going, oh, like, fuck you. Like, we don't want you to tell people to eat nothing but Wendy's and lose weight. Like, I get it, right? We need to balance two things. One is overall health, and the other is energy balance as it pertains to weight loss, which, as Hexercise said, was one of our initial episodes. You guys can understand energy balance and why it's important to know that. Can we lose weight on nothing but junior bacon cheeseburgers? Yeah, we could. I'm not saying that's the most, overall health conscious thing to do, of course, but from an energy balance perspective, it's absolutely doable. So can you go out to eat and lose weight? Absolutely. Does it have its nuances? Is it sometimes incredibly difficult depending on what the eating out means? Yeah. I mean, you're going to get Mexican. It's a way different situation than going into a Wendy's, for example, where you have complete control, accurate calorie counts, and a wide variety of things to get from high to low calorie. So what I was hoping we could do is, look at the calorie counter from Wendy's website. There's a lot of these that are similar to other places too. A lot of the chain restaurants will typically have them. And it's exciting because a lot of these things are things that you guys will recognize and love, as I do. I love Wendy's. Yeah, like that comment says, it's perfect. We want Hexicans to be healthy 15 years and beyond, not just to them, but for our kids. This is generational wealth, but from an overall health standpoint, we want you guys to be the most informed and well-versed cryptocurrency community, because we are the best community, especially when it comes to the crypto product that we're investing in, but also with our mindsets as pertains to health. We want people to be around, not just wealthy, but to be around in a way that allows you to do the most with what Hex is giving you in the first place. So it's important to learn these things because, we just got locked down for a year and a half, and that caused a lot of issues. And we don't have to get into that. We talked about that in one of our prior episodes, but these are really, really amazing skill sets that will serve you well, whether or not you're locked down, whether or not you're injured, or you're super active your whole life, or hopefully somewhere in the middle, I would assume,
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely can.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but you can.
Very similar concepts here. Like we've talked about multiple times already, that translate from the 5-5-5-5 mindset over to health and wellness, and that we are looking at the long-term, delaying gratification to reap the benefits over a 15-year stake or a 30, 40, 50-year time period. Whatever is left for you, we're going to try and make the best of that.
I see a couple good comments in there.
Yeah,
what's going on, RG?
Saw a lot here.
Yeah, Chronometer is a good app. There's a lot of great apps, man, honestly. And that's a whole other conversation too. I think another good topic, by the way, exercise for the future, is how to allow somebody to get in a better mindset to start tracking via an app, because they are aware of the fact that eventually the app will no longer be needed because you get very good at this, right? But that's a whole other thing. So, dude, I'm ready for, if you are, to pull up the old Wendy's calculator
Sure,
to see how things have changed. See if there's anything we want to make guesses on. But this is just, guys, going into Google and typing in whether it's Wendy's, Burger King, Denny's, Chipotle, Olive Garden. Be careful, man. Those are some seriously high calorie counts. But the point is type in the restaurant name, nutrition, calculator. That's it. Type those things in, and most of the time you're going to get a really nicely laid out calculator like this, where depending on what you want, you can get the exact cost of these things, right? It's important to know that we can still have these things in moderation, but understand the cost perspective is important, because we do this already with shopping, right? You go into a clothing store, you already kind of know the price points on most things, but it doesn't really detract from the experience because we're so used to it. The same thing can apply here. So for example, if we're going to Frosties, because I love Frosties, obviously chocolate, because I'm not a savage, we go to chocolate here. And obviously, I'm going to go to large because that's typically what I do. This shows you, aside from the terrible image getting caught off here, it's a bad look, Wendy's. You have all of the calorie contents and macros. Isn't that a beautiful thing, exercise right here? Look at
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Beautiful. And what that's really allowing you to do is to make an informed choice, right? Do you want the $400 t-shirt, or do we get the junior and we get
Yeah.
the $50 t-shirt? Does it
Yeah.
really matter? What is the experience you're looking to get, and how do we balance this with overall health? Plus, now you know another option you can get on the go. This is helpful on the road trip. This is helpful when you're low on time. And I'm not saying that the Frosty is one thing I recommend you get here. Everything is available there. So Frosties, you have some good choices. But for example, if we go back and we go to hamburgers, I like the Baconator. Where's the Baconator? Oh, here we go. 960 calories, guys, for a Baconator. It's a really, really good burger. I'm a fan of Wendy's, so obviously I'm going to Wendy's. But this has got a lot of sodium. We're talking a very high amount of sodium and a very high calorie content. Yes, there's some protein in this, but that doesn't make it perfectly healthy by any means, of course. But here's the cost. You pair this with a couple other things without thinking about, like, oh, I'll just get number 8. Look at the Baconator, the giant fry, whatever size Coke. I've been thinking that there's a Diet Coke option that could reduce that price point a bit. You're just allowing these costs to come up. And this is something that you could be 100% accurate with. So I think, this is a really valuable tool for hexagons, just like they use with charting. Guys, go in here. All these apps have these things too. You can type in Wendy's and all these verified options will come up in your food tracking app. We should probably do an episode on food tracking, like the apps themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a good one to review them, because there's been a few new ones popping up, but the guys, they're going to be there. And this is, I hate to say this, but the fast food places are typically the most honest with you guys, right? I mean, the restaurants, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, exercise, but the restaurants care more about the way the food tastes and not as much about the calorie count. They don't really give a shit. Honestly, they just want you to have a good time and have food that tastes good. So if it's a 4,000 calorie entree, 3,000, they don't care. They're not your doctor. They want you to have a few margaritas, a bunch of tortilla chips,
Yep.
So these places are honest.
Yeah, some of that is directly in some of the notes that I typed up really quick for this. So absolutely, I agree. They're trying to get food out the window very fast. So it's very standardized, which is nice for some things, maybe not so nice for other things. Whereas restaurants, if they don't have, lots of them won't have a nutritional brochure or nutritional document for you. They are trying to make the food taste good and make you have a good experience. So they're adding whatever they can or whatever they want to make that dish taste as good as it can. In some scenarios, not in every single scenario, just when a restaurant does not have the nutritional information available, it means your chef in the back is freewheeling it a little bit more, trying to send out a nice dish. Versus the fast food, it's like, hey, we're putting 1 patty, 2 buns, one like squeeze of oil, one squeeze of this, one squeeze of that. It's very standardized when it comes to fast food, as opposed to something a little more traditional, for sure.
Dude, this straight up makes me want Wendy's right now. I'm not gonna lie. On the flip side, here's the best part, guys. Once again, do fast food restaurants have to offer healthier choices? No, but they still do. And I'm not like I'm like an advocate of fast food by any means, but this is just the facts. You can come to Wendy's and get apple slices. You can come to Wendy's and get a salad. You can come to Wendy's and get a grilled chicken sandwich. Actually, it's probably a good one to show you guys. Chicken nuggets and more. I think it's here. Where's the grilled chicken sandwich? Here we go. Look at this. 350 calories, guys. If you just look a little deeper, and this thing tastes hella good.
Yeah.
I do not trust if you think this tastes bad. This is what? We got 33 grams of protein, 35 carbs, and 8 grams of fat. Guys, outside of the sodium content, that's not the end of the world. I wouldn't advocate always getting something from here, but once again, just coming in with the knowledge is so huge. And this is what, like a 600 calorie difference between the Baconator?
Yeah.
It seems simple, and that's the thing. It is. It's just making the decision, the discipline, and the awareness, and getting the mindset to understand these things is a different ballgame entirely.
Yeah. So like you said, Ryan, we are not advocating that you go out and get this every single day. We're saying we realize that you will be eating out multiple times throughout the week, or maybe multiple times throughout the day. Depends on your situation, your lifestyle, a whole host of things. But what we're just trying to, I guess, purvey here is that you can include it in a constructive way. So the great analogy that you keep making here is, especially when you're trying to figure out which foods to include from a Wendy's or a McDonald's or wherever you might be going, is that kind of look at it like a bank account. Your energy that you're allowed to spend for the day is your calorie count. So if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet and you want to include a Baconator, well, that's going to cost you half of your energy or
Yeah.
half of your dollars if you're making that,
Baconator a
using
day
that
to keep the
analogy,
body fat at bay.
right? Yeah. So if you're including that, or if you're trying to include some sort of fast food or some sort of takeout in a diet, it's definitely doable. You just have to, yeah, be aware of some of those fundamental principles and all this data. There's so much data out there from a lot of these places that you can use. And a great place to go first is just the calorie count. Great place to start. And then you can move deeper if you want to the macros like Ryan has pulled up here with the fat and the carbs and the protein. So
Yeah, absolutely.
lots of tools at your fingertips to include it if you can, or if you want to.
Hold on, I'm about to see if they have the apple slices still. I feel like they may have moved them or gotten rid of them, or they're in a weird spot.
Okay, you look for him. I'll look at a couple comments here. DB Cooper says, a burger only for me. Always remove the dry bun and never eat fries. That's a great strategy to just minimize how many
Boom.
how many calories are coming in. If you want the fries, obviously you can include them. Just realize your cost, your energy in, is going up.
Here you go, guys. Fries, 210 to 410 cals, or 470 rather, and then you have the chili below, which I would definitely recommend, which is right around 240 to 340 depending on the size. And then once again, this is a fast food place. Apple bites, just like Chick-fil-A will have. Dude, look at this. Like they're just giving you apples. You know, we don't always have to get the number 6. Can you work it in? Like he said, can you get 1,000 calorie Baconator if you're losing weight in 2,000 calories a day and make that happen? Yeah, you'll probably feel like garbage if you do that every day and have low energy levels and feel like crap, you know, and be very hungry too, because it's not the most filling thing in the planet. But from like a science perspective, it's doable, not recommendable. So this is, you know, when you dig a little deeper, you see that there are options, you know, that don't have to be super discouraging or, oh, I can't make this work because I have to go out. It can work. A lot of times it can work. You know, we're just talking strictly places that you can pretty quickly see. Because once again, I know it can be a little overwhelming at first, but once you log from Wendy's a few times, you know what's there. It's like you go into Target and you're shopping for some food. You kind of know the price point of the cereal. It ain't changing. It's like you're going to walk out and get the Fruit Loops the second time. It's like $50, you know? So same thing here. You get the fries again, or you get the chili again. You kind of know everything that's already there. And typically these apps, which like I said, I really think we should do another episode on that, will already pre-save all the stuff you've had before in the past. So it becomes really fluid and easy, I've found. And then as you do this more and more, you kind of understand the price points of food much more effectively, like you do with shopping. It's in the background. It's no longer a pressure. It's no longer an annoyance. It's just part of the process. It doesn't bother you, and you still enjoy the food, which is, in my opinion, a great takeaway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wendy's.
Yeah, Wendy's, who was talking about their tweets? They do have a fire Twitter account. So go and follow them. They're pretty funny.
That's a good comment to leave up for a sec.
This one?
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting because I feel him on that. You know, fast food used to be so inexpensive. I remember getting the dollar menu at Wendy's because I used to be a very avid snowboarder, and I would get like 5 or 6 things from the dollar menu back when the dollar menu existed. It does not exist obviously anymore, but now it's like, dude, it's like almost $20 for a full meal there. So yeah, it's expensive. It used to be inexpensive and you got the convenience of it being fast. Now you're paying for the convenience. It's kind of like a protein bar or a protein shake. You're paying for the convenience of the food being done quickly, right? Without needing to cook. So that in my opinion, I always knew prices for fast food were going to come up because that's kind of what you're paying for, to not have to spend the time cooking, you know. But to his point, yeah, you know, you got to be clever these days. I think depending on what you order from these places, it could be more affordable. But yeah, you know, in general, everything has gone up in price recently. Let's be honest here. Inflation's kind of been doing its thing, but I don't know how you feel about that exercise, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the back and forth push and pull between fast food and how expensive it is versus like just going to the grocery store.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if he's referencing like in terms of your food budget here. Fast food is really expensive and it's a budget. So I'm not sure if he's talking about like the analogy we're making, or if he was referencing like the actual cost of it.
I feel like he meant cost because then he said on top of everything, it's not good for you, which this is what I'll say to that. You already know what I'm about to say here.
Yeah.
So hear me on this, Voss Crypto Jesus. I like that name, by the way. It's funny. yes, you can argue that there are healthier options out there, but if you have somebody who is in the Hex community right now watching this, and they're, let's say, 40 years old, and they have 20 years of bad habits, and they eat out 3 to 4 times a week, I cannot tell that person to go to the grocery store and eat nothing but organic, homegrown foods and be perfect with their micronutrients and their macros and cook all the meals. Dude, that's not doable. That's not a start point that is going to allow someone to be successful. So what would you rather have? Somebody come to me and I force them to be perfect because Wendy's is perfect for you. And they may be perfect for a few weeks and then they stop forever because they're miserable and they don't stick to it. And then they remain at a high body fat percentage their whole life and cause a number of other issues. Or we get them down, let's say 15 to 20 pounds utilizing the Wendy's, and then on their own accord, they make better choices for the rest of their life. That's typically what I see. So not that you're not wrong, but I do think that's the wrong direction or order of operations in which to have the conversation is all. So I would encourage or challenge you to view it a little differently if you ever do have that discourse with other people.
Yeah, I'll challenge just like that last sentiment there is that on top of that, or on top of everything that's not good for you, it totally depends on your context here. Because you can include a McDonald's cheeseburger and you can have optimal health outcomes. It is possible. So to say like in isolation that fast food is not good for you is like, it's probably a safe statement to make and say like, just like it's probably better to stay away from than to only eat if we're talking in absolutes, but you can include it for sure and meet all of some of these recommendations and have great health outcomes. So to say on top of everything it's not good for you, I'll just challenge that idea because you can include it and have unreal or amazing health outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, that's a whole other episode in and of itself is the order of operations in which to fix this problem more effectively. Because like, to be fair to anybody commenting in here, dietitians and doctors have been screaming at people to eat healthier. It's not working.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers, whether it be from the CDC, whether it be from whoever you want to pull it from, they're bad. They're parabolically going the wrong direction, even though we're getting screamed at to eat healthy and be active. We need to understand that that's maybe not the best starting point for people who have layered issues with this for a number of reasons, and our culture doesn't help, and our relationships typically aren't helping, etc. So not to like pick that one out. It's just, it's a good thing to always remember to bring it back down to the overall starting point, right? The energy balance first is the most important thing versus particular food choice. I thought it was well worded exercise on what you said.
Yeah. Bit finesse here. Yeah, this is a great strategy. If you can find something that you consider junk food or like something that even just like scratches that itch, something crunchy, something of that sort, they can be a huge lifesaver where instead of going for something much more expensive or much more energy dense, you can find like a similar feeling or a similar outcome, similar taste for a lot cheaper or a lot less calories is the big thing there.
Guys, another thing too, ma'am, if you're in a weight loss phase, number one, remember that this is not forever. You're losing weight for a small period of time, hopefully, typically. I would encourage you to watch our episode we did very recently on structure of weight loss. But the point is you're not doing this forever. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, hopefully no longer than 16 weeks, 14 weeks. The point is giving up certain things like diet sodas and utilizing that to save yourself. For example, you could be saving yourself 500 calories just by swapping to a zero sugar soda option. It's that big of a deal. These are the little things that can prevent you from overspending and being frustrated because you're not losing weight for the week. That's all it takes. Literally. We haven't even touched the restaurant side of the equation yet. This is just fast food where everything is actually, there's a price tag. Like you should be thanking them. Like they don't even, I don't know if they have to do this. I'm not sure if the FDA regulates that you have a nutrition calculator. I'm not sure about that. I
actually think they did.
Because I know they regulate it for restaurants. It's just none of the restaurants follow it. None of them have nutrition content.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fucked.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It's like, hey, here's this t-shirt that you have to buy, but also it's like whatever price we feel like.
Yeah, market price today.
It's like, it's not even market price. It's whatever price. One day it's this, one day it's that. Who gives a crap? Here it is. Eat it. So like when you kind of correlate this to finances, people start to really understand why this can be a black and white relationship too sometimes in that perspective. But yeah, dude, you could save anywhere. I mean, dude, how large of this could this be? Yeah. So 500 calories for one large soda. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, don't be wrong. Everybody's done it. I've done it. I love soda. Like I'm American. I like soda. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's just interesting to see how diverse some of these options are. It really is. Like you get orange juice here. I mean, dude, I didn't even know you could get orange juice at Wendy's. I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Probably a better choice than the Coke if you're going to get the calorie dense one. I mean, shoot,
Yeah.
160.
Yeah. And again, yeah, just realize, yeah, where you're spending your calories, or where your calories are costing you from your total budget.
This is interesting.
Yeah, these are
Salads
usually
don't
pretty
equal
fun.
low calorie.
Yeah.
Look at the taco salad, 700. Doesn't look
Yeah.
that bad though. Looks okay.
Yeah.
A lot of fat, a lot of carb.
Yeah, just use the tools available to figure this out. Lots of people just will not. Like, oh, I'm sure this will be better, when in reality it might not be. So yeah, if they're
Yeah.
providing these tools and this information and this data for you, go and use it. Go and get it. Spend the minute or two to go do it. I know some of it's a pain in the ass and kind of sucks. Like, oh, I don't want to go look up calorie content for my McDonald's. And
Yeah.
that's definitely the point that we'd probably like to get to, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's necessary. The obstacle. What's the quote that I used to like to use, or I used to have it written. The obstacle of the goal. Shit, I'm gonna fuck this up. The goal is to keep the goal, right? So whatever the obstacle is that is impeding your progress, that is the goal by proxy, or by definition. It becomes your goal. So if your goal is to lose weight, gain, whatever the heck it might be, if this like little pain in the ass, like, hey, I got to go look up the macros or look up the calories, it's like, actually I don't know. Well, that has become your goal in that moment. So keep the goal. The obstacle that which is your impediment is the goal. Maybe chat can help me out with whatever the heck that quote is. I'm
We
pretty
got a
sure I
good comment
butchered it.
from Hexit in there as well.
Nice.
A big mindset thing for me has been allow myself to get the high cal options sometimes and remind myself that going over calorie count one day doesn't stop my progress. Yeah, I mean, this is always good to just remind throughout every stream we do. Guys, you're going to blow shit up doing this sometimes. It's okay. You do this consistently to some capacity, you're not going to make these kinds of, days where you blow things up because you know better. If you get the soda once and you're like, "Oh shit, I went over by 500 calories." You know now. You bought the $500 t-shirt. It's okay. You're not going to buy it next time probably. Or at least right? You can make an informed decision. So, yeah, one day is not enough to offset. That's a whole other conversation entirely in terms of when it could make sense to stop losing weight based on mistakes you're making. But in general, yeah, you got to fall in love with being imperfect with this stuff because it is a weird taboo topic that is not talked about, that is very awkward and weird getting involved with at first. But with, like Exercise said, yeah, you may have to do this the first 10 times, but after you're going to take literally 2 seconds to log it. You already know the price points. So they just get logged. You just do a swipe motion on your app because it already knows that you've gotten these 10 things from Wendy's before. It takes literally less time than it does to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's really simple. So it
Yeah.
becomes a very nice, you've gotten good when it operates in the back of your head. Like nobody that I know outside of my significant other and my clients and my best friends know that I track calories. And no one really should know. It's kind of a private thing, to be honest. It really is something that should be able to exist in the background, kind of like budgeting. You don't walk up to them like, oh, well, I just got to whip out the calculator and see if the cereal makes sense. You talk to your friend about it. It's typically not how it goes. You just kind of do it in your head, see if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, a good rule of thumb here is to zoom out. One day isn't really going to make or break. You might have, if your weigh-in is the next day, it could screw something like that up. But if you are on average consuming 2,000 calories a day, over the week, you get 14,000 calories. So if you have one high day, you can try to balance that out over the next day, or over the course of the week if you'd like. So we're really, zooming out and looking at a more macro picture as opposed to looking at a daily thing. So especially if that's going to help you stay on track or stick within your goals, then yeah, do it.
Hey, can you pull up that comment from Cody real quick?
From who, sorry?
Cody Klein, one of the most recent ones that came in.
Corey Klein. I can't get involved in this. I finally lost weight and I cannot gain any back. And I eat 2 to 4 pounds of food a night. I've never counted calories. It's a matter of not eating certain foods. Okay, I hear you for sure. I think Ryan's definitely gonna have something to say here, but if that is the method that works for you, we're not here to say like, hey, do it this way. This is just a tool, throw in your toolbox and use if you want to, especially if it fits like your style or your methodology. If this is a way a method that doesn't work for you, if you're like, holy smokes, every time I try to eat out or I try to do something like this, it totally screws me over. That's all right. Then you know better than we do. We're just here to offer some info and tools if you want to include those in your toolbox. So if maybe one day, if you want, just realize that you could add it, but if you know for you, like, hey, I am not getting into this. I'm not doing this because I've seen what it does to me, then that's totally acceptable, totally understandable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like if someone doesn't track their finances, but they still become a millionaire, then like great. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to talk about is not to tell anybody, hey, you have to go out and do this. We're giving people the understanding of what's happening in the background, whether you care to pay attention to it or not. And that's just being honest, right? Your body is looking at these energy counts. Your body is metabolizing these things. The energy balance is going on. And just because that does work at this current moment for you, the frustrating thing that happens is what happens if you do start gaining weight and you're unaware of why? Well, it's because of the things we're talking about. And it could be something that's changed. And honestly, I'd rather be prepared for that, to be honest. And because with the weight gain thing, it doesn't matter the volume of food you eat. That kind of shows me that somebody doesn't understand what's actually going on. Because yeah, you could have nothing but salad and eat 20 pounds of salad every day. It doesn't mean you're eating enough energy content to actually gain weight. And if you don't have the information or data to show it, it's like you're doing finances without ever checking your bank account. Most people would say it's pretty silly to just totally, close your eyes on it and hope it all works out. I mean, what if a financial emergency happened? What if this happens? This happens. And it happened with, the shutdowns we just had. People's activity levels came down dramatically and they just assumed everything would be okay. And obviously it wasn't. We had the most parabolic obesity rate climb that we've ever seen. We've seen basically a decade worth of increases in a year and a half. So it's not me like getting at this guy by any means, but we're specifically here to convey to you guys and give you guys information on what's happening, regardless of the strategy you partake to manage your overall health. Because just know whether it's calorie counting, whether it's just intuitive eating, whether it's just whatever, this stuff still exists. It's kind of like you can look at dollars in your bank account, or you can have your own weird currency conversion that you want to use. And if it works, great. But at the end of the day, it's just dollars in your bank account. That's what it is, So that's all we're looking to do here, man. Because on the flip side, depending on what you're doing, all you'd have to do is be in a surplus of 10 to 15% every day, and you'll start gaining weight. Yeah. And that could change. Your lifestyle could change. Your activity levels could come down, and you're eating the same amount. So that's enough to bump you into gaining weight. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm not advocating for people to get into a bad position, but we have to be realistic here. That's why it's important to at least give people, especially in the HEX community, tools to become more responsible in a way that makes sense for them. We're not encouraging everybody to just go full on into this, but we're giving the information, let people do what they will with it. Because yeah, this is a very personal thing. It is a very complex issue that has a lot of emotions back to it. So hopefully you know that we're not like saying, hey, you guys absolutely have to jump into this. This is just us trying to give you tools to understand this is what's going on, regardless of the methodology you use.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. So I think this was our budget guy, and he was saying that talking about fast food as a budget might be helpful, or on the other hand, is a really good topic to talk about it as a budget. We agree. And I just want to get into the idea that all food, all energy is a budget. We're not necessarily in this episode, you take out and eating out kind of isolates fast food, but all food kind of goes into this conversation of whether or not it fits your energy budget. So this last little point here about how do you burn fat, to me, it all depends on your body type. This is not where the end decision is going to lie. It's going to lie in your overall energy balance, day to day, week to week, month to month. So if you are taking in less energy than you're outputting over time, you will lose weight and you will lose fat. It's not necessarily about your body type. And with this information and these tools, you can kind of choose what to employ and how to employ it to get to that end goal. Whether it's like Corey just said, this might not work for him. So if this doesn't work for you, don't include this tool in your toolbox. You might want more control over your portions, over your serving size, over your ingredients. Sure, but it's not going to be restricted to somebody's body type. It's going to come down to how much did you take in, and then basically how much energy did you spend. Right. So some of those early episodes, we talked about all the ways that you can spend your energy, or you can spend your energy through 4 different sources, or at least we categorized it into 4 different sources of spending. And then there's really only one way that you can take in energy, and that's through your mouth and into your stomach. So that's energy in, energy out. That's one of the the fundamental working assumptions that we're relying on.
I just shot him a link to that episode too. That was the first one we did, Voss, because that's a good question. And that's why it's good that we have these episodes now, so you can go back to that episode and see basically what exercise was saying, which should be exciting. Like obviously genetics play a role, and there are things that go into how effective someone can be with their given genetics. But honestly, that's never really a real factor for what most people are trying to do, the 95%, unless you're like legit, like a professional bodybuilder. So that should be exciting in that, yeah, you could quickly and effectively create a change. And hopefully these tools, it allows you to do so in a way that's exciting and sustainable and still can preserve overall health, right? Once again, we're not advocating people to go out and use Wendy's all the time. This is to give you guys tools during the moments that will come. If you're telling me you're never going to go to fast food again your whole life, I'm going to tell you you're a liar. And even if you weren't lying, 99% of the United States, for that matter, is never going to do that. So which is really the better option here? I'd rather give people what they can do to start. And then typically after that point, people do pull away from fast food, especially when they know they can have it whenever they want and lose weight. The desire gets pulled away too, honestly. It's this less sexy object that you can't have because it's going to make you gain weight, etc. When it all just fits, it really does take away and help rebalance, I feel. And that's a whole other thing, is like emotional eating and binge eating. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. So Voss Crypto followed up with, the thing is, it's hard to burn the fat, but giving up is not an option. So that is absolutely true. And if we're minimizing that at all, I'm not trying to, or I'm sure Ryan's not trying to. It is hard to lose fat. It is hard to lose weight for, I would say, the extreme majority of people. This just kind of I'll just go through some of the notes I wrote here, because this is kind of how I led into it. And it was, losing weight is difficult for most. It requires a great deal of discipline. So one of the best things to do to combat this is to be as real and honest with yourself as possible, right? I can remember when I was in the throes of trying to lose weight to get to a specific body fat percentage, like I would literally try to like sneak stuff past myself. I'd be like, oh, you can fit this in, don't worry about it. And like one of the realizations I've had there and in multiple other places is just to be real and honest with yourself. And that is a lot more difficult than it sounds. So when you're eating out and to lose weight, uh, usually it's going to increase this difficulty. So number one, it is a difficult thing to do. And if you're going to incorporate eating out, most times that increases the difficulty for a few reasons. Number one, you lose control over the ingredients and the portion. So this is already some stuff that we've kind of referenced or talked about.
Yeah.
Number two, there's restaurants that do not provide nutritional info. So you might get a plate of pasta. Like if you go to a nice Italian restaurant, you have no idea what you're spending if we're referencing the budget analogy. These restaurants, like Ryan mentioned, they're trying to sell you food. They are doing what they can to create an amazing food experience for you. They will add stuff to make it taste better. This is more typical in a place that doesn't have the nutritional info. Lots of places, if they're fast food or if they're chain, they've probably committed to some sort of standardization, but still, there might be stuff being added. And typically, if you're eating out, options are more energy dense. Not all the time. Like when Ryan went through those different options at Wendy's, you could see some that were 1,000 calories for a sandwich versus 300 calories for a sandwich, with great macros on the 300 calorie one. So usually the ones that people are attracted to are more energy dense, but that is not always the case, right? And you might think an item is lower calorie than it is, especially if it's something similar to what you're used to eating at home. Like if it's part of your meal prep, maybe it's something you do on the regular and you're like, oh, I'll get this while I'm out at a restaurant. It should be worth about 500 calories. That is also not the case. One of the things we were just talking about was like chips and guac, or tortilla chips and guac. It seems like a pretty normal thing to do, but that might be a little more expensive than you think. So some strategies, just some quick ideas that I had to combat this is, number one, and honestly, I think this is one of the most important skills. So for somebody like Corey, it sounds like it might not be the way you want to go, but I do think it's a lifelong skill that will help, is to learn how to track. So whether that's it'll probably be using an app. My favorite one is Chronometer. I think we had Bitfinesse mention that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you
And
do.
yeah, I do think we'll probably do an episode on apps and tracking and stuff like that now. I think it would add really well with everything we're talking about. So learn how to track. Keep yourself honest with like how much food, how many calories are going in, and that will give you a really, really good idea of how to combat. whatever the outcome is. Go to restaurants or chains that publish the actual nutritional info. So Wendy's has the info, McDonald's has the info. Some other places might not. And also be aware that these numbers, they might not be precise. Like you might go to a sit-down restaurant that says this pasta is worth this many calories. It might not be that accurate. And before you go out there, just have a strategy in place. Have a strategy ready to go to employ. Oftentimes, the poor decisions are made when there is no planning or no strategy in place. So that was just like some of the quick like notes that I had jotted down as we were talking about this idea,
Yeah.
like the topic for this episode. So I was just gonna
100%, man.
pull up Chronometer really quick because I think it's the best one of the free ones. It's very intuitive, very nice. There's an app for your phone. You can scan barcodes if you want. Lots of the fast food, lots of the restaurant items you can find on here. And then if you can't find them on here, you can go to their website and go find the info and you can create foods yourself. So if you're used to that, or if you're used to eating out, or if you know you're gonna, hey, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna have this, you can have it ready to add in. So I think someone actually said this, it was Bitfinesse, save everything you look up in your app as a favorite, and then you can add it really easy. So I do know, and I do agree that if you've never done this before, like it might be a bit daunting and it might be a pain in the ass and it's like, holy shit. But again, the goal is to keep the goal a goal. And if this is gonna help you get there, be real with yourself, be honest with yourself, and I think try at least try it, because I do believe it is a long-term skill that pays off for the rest of your life. So
Yeah.
then once you have that information, you can just add it, and the apps will do a lot of this work for you. But if you know that your budget is 2,000 kcals for the day, and you want to go somewhere like McDonald's, right? We want to go to them Golden Arches, right? And let's say
Gorgeous. Gorgeous,
I
bro.
want some large fries. Yeah, you guys get treated with my artwork every week, I know. And we want some large fries. We want to eat those. We want a cheeseburger. Maybe you want a Big Mac, right? These are tools that you can use, right? What did the Big Mac say there for calories?
Oh, it was a Big Mac. Oh, it was Baconator. It was nine. It was called 1,000. Called
Big
1,000.
Mac was 5 so Big Mac 570.
Which I love Big Macs.
Big Macs are awesome. Kind of
Oh, you
expensive,
meant McDonald's. Yeah, that makes sense now.
right? So Big Mac, large fries, cheeseburger. So we got 1,000, 1,200, 1,350. We've got 1,420 kcals that we just used with that one meal. For my budget, that leaves me with 580 remaining for the rest of the day. So depending on what you're doing, you can go look for the lower calorie stuff to add in, or the higher calorie stuff to add in, depending again on your goals. More often than not, it is to try to lose weight, but sometimes people are trying to gain. So those tools are handy. They're really quite easy to find, especially once you've done it a couple of times. And
Yeah.
then most of the chains, fast food places especially, have this stuff at your fingertips or published somewhere where you can go and find all this info. And then once you get down the rabbit hole a bit, then we can talk about fat content, we can talk about carb content, and we can talk about protein. And then once we get past the macros, then we can start talking about other things like components of fat, components of micros, and even more stuff. So lots of data here, lots of information to really help you stay on track or to meet your goal if you find yourself in a situation where you have to eat out, you want to eat out, your family's eating out, any situation at all. Yeah, those were some of my quick notes there.
Yeah. I mean, dude, 100%. Guys, this stuff's going on, whether or not we're aware of it, obviously so. And just because something's working now without paying attention doesn't mean it will work in the future without paying attention. And all I can say is that activity levels, how active we are on a daily basis, is something that typically changes a lot. What if you get injured, right? What if something happens where you can't be as active as you usually are? Once again, I hope everybody in here can be active for the rest of their lives forever, but food is the only thing that's going to be there until you die. Not going to the gym, not like this guy said, take trend and sit on the couch and eat ice cream, build muscle, lose weight. That's funny. But the point is, we can't rely on that. With the lockdowns that just happened, that was the biggest example of how something out of the ordinary can happen. that truly changes the energy balance equation. And the people who were clever knew what they were doing were just fine. It wasn't ideal. I didn't like not being able to go to the gym anymore, but things also didn't explode. You know what I mean? And it's really important to understand, to at least offer this information, you guys. You can at least go about it at your own pace with becoming more aware of it and building up your own kind of relationship with it. Because this is a big deal. You know, this is literally the equivalent of telling somebody who's like 40 years old, who has never had a bank account their whole life, hey, here's a bank account. Get familiar with it because this is your problem now. You need to deal with it. That's a difficult thing. They're not probably going to do well without some form of guidance, mentorship, etc. It's a lot of responsibility. And this is a lot of responsibility. Responsibility that's not typically cared about until now, where we're kind of forcibly needed to take care of it because obviously the health situation is not going well. So yeah, I mean, dude, this stuff is like, it's crazy. And dude, can you bring it to Chipotle real quick? I just want to show them the chips thing.
The Chipotle website?
Or yeah, just pull up the Chipotle nutrition calculator again.
Or do you have it up?
Yeah, I got it up if you want. It doesn't matter to me.
You want me to add yours?
Doesn't matter. You can bring it up, bro. Yeah, go to so guys, Chipotle. Most people know this. Hold on, is my cat in the way? Yeah, come on, buddy. Sorry about that. So the point is here, guys, is choices. There are price points to these things, not just monetarily speaking, but in terms of overall health, there's price points. So the point is I want Haxercise to click on where it says sides and drinks.
Oh, this is your tab now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Whoops. Okay, so guys, usually a burrito bowl from Chipotle will be around 700 to 1,000 calories, depending on if you get double meat, if you get guacamole, if you get cheese. 600 to 1,000 calories. Good rule of thumb, right around there, and a good bit of sodium. But most people get chips as a side. What they don't realize is that these are super high. You get a large chip with guacamole, which once again is very healthy for you from a macronutrient standpoint, but still is very energy dense. 1,200, call what it is, 1,300 calories. 1,300 calories for your large chip and guacamole from Chipotle. That's more than the Baconator.
Yep.
That's more than a Baconator. And most people don't say anything about tortilla chips. They just kind of fly under the radar. It's just kind of expected that you eat a bunch of them. Whether you go out to eat a Mexican, you go here. It's just kind of a cultural thing that you do. The point is, be aware of these things. Do you have to eat the whole bag? Probably not. Can we portion size it? Can we bring half home to eat later? Whatever. Do we have to have the guacamole, right? These are decisions we can make, but only when we're aware of what's happening. So this is us giving you guys the awareness and some of the tools to quickly identify where that awareness lies. Because yeah, this is crazy, man. 1,270, dude, that's nuts. That's over half of most people's intake.
Yep. Yeah, 1,270 is nuts for a side.
That's nuts. And it kind of leads me to the next point I was going to bring up, was Mexican food. Should we talk about restaurants? I think it's probably a good one to talk about next.
Sure, let's do it.
So we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this one because restaurants are pretty dicey in general. But the reason why I have a Mexican enchilada, I think that is, right? Exercising, it's an enchilada.
I believe you're correct.
Rice, refried beans, some guac, some salsa,
Yeah,
etc.
it could be a smothered burrito there. Typically enchiladas come with like 3s or 4s, but same.
Yeah,
It's very, very similar idea.
The point is, guys, is if you're tracking calories and trying to lose weight, and you're like, hey, I'm actually losing weight on a good calorie count. I'm losing weight on 2,300 calories a day, which is not uncommon. Let's say you're somebody that is losing weight 2,300 calories a day, and you go into this meal with, let's say, 900 calories left, right? So you're eating, let's say 1,400 calories, give or take, and you save around 800 to 900 for this dinner. You're probably thinking, oh, it should be close to enough. Well, think about it. Mexican, right? Typically you have margaritas. Well, about 250 to 350 calories per. So if you have 2 margaritas, I'm a bit of a lightweight, so I'll probably have 2 and then I'm drunk. So we'll say for the sake of the conversation, it's me, 2 margaritas. So right around 600 calories for the margaritas alone. So I've already almost blown my intake with just the alcohol itself. Let's just get that out of the way. I have 300 calories left for this dinner. Then you have the chips. Depending on the person, depending on how happy you are, depending on whatever, you're just going to start eating chips. That's a difficult thing. They're limitless typically. They bring them out when you're done with them. And I'm a monster with this. You could easily go through 1,000 calories with the chips. Even if you're not dipping. You're just drinking margaritas, having a good time, eating chips. It's normal. I'm not saying it's bad behavior. It's just normal, but the costs are there. So the point is, We're at 600 calories now for the margaritas. We're probably around anywhere from 500 to 1100 calories for the chips. We'll go in the lower end for the sake of the conversation. We'll say that someone was extra safe and they had 650 calories with the chips. So 600 drinks, 650 from the calorie from the chips. So now we're at 1250. So now I'm over my intake. I'm already at maintenance or above maintenance of about 350 now on somebody who's eating 2400 calories a day. Now we get what we have here, the entree. Good rule of thumb for most entrees, about 1200 calories per. Sometimes more, depending on where you're going. Sometimes a little less, not often. The point being is, yeah, the cheese, the beans, the rice, whatever else is in that thing, the guac, if you have any of it. Yeah, this is probably a safe bet, 1,000-calorie meal. So I went from now 300 calories over to 1,300 calories over. This is how quickly it can happen. Now, Mexican is a difficult situation. Not all restaurants or, ethnicity groups of foods are going to be this difficult. Not all of them include alcohol. Not all of them include sides, etc. But this is how quickly you can do the math in your head without having a thought at all. Just you're done. You already know what the shirts cost. You know how to go in there and have a good time. That's why it's powerful. Because that's the low end. When I go get Mexican, it's pretty easy for me to hit 3,000 plus calories just for the dinner.
Yeah, there are definitely some types of food, some categories of food that are just naturally or just inherently more energy dense or have more calories in them.
Yeah.
Like Mexican. Mexican is oftentimes heavy on the fat via cheese, via oil, via whatever the heck. Italian, also usually heavy on the cheese, heavy on the fat content. French cooking.
Dude, Italian is bad. I've recently realized again how bad Italian is. I haven't had clients go to get Italian in a while. I'm like, holy mother of God. Like that, just a spaghetti plate is like 1,100 calories. Not to mention the garlic bread. Oh my God, the garlic bread, dude. You go to Olive Garden, you're pumping like 500 calories just from the garlic bread.
Breadsticks, unlimited.
Dude, and like you can't say you haven't done it. Like I've
been there.
Yeah, I think most people have. There's always gonna be that person that's like, well, I haven't had soda in 30 years. It's like, that's great. You're not likely our target demographic that we're talking to. You know, it's tough, man. It's tough. And I'm not saying exercise can agree or disagree. I'm not saying that I'm advocating for restaurants to pump out higher calories. I can't come in and change culture, right? And then unless they get regulated, that's not going to happen. So it's up to us to decide if the price tag is worth the health cost associated with it potentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult stuff.
Yeah. Ultimately, the responsibility does rest on your shoulders to understand the game and then play the game.
Yeah.
Like if your family wants to, go out for a Mexican dinner over the holidays, I recommend you go. Don't boycott it, or I recommend you go and eat and enjoy and be merry and have fun, and just account for it. If that's not something you want to do, obviously you are up to conduct yourself in whatever way you'd like. But these are tools that will allow you to kind of like move around in the way you want to, in the way the world is today.
Yeah.
What was the thing I was going to pull up there for Bitfinesse? It was the
blackberries.
The blackberries. So really quickly, I already added them here, so let me actually delete them, and then we'll just go really quickly while we're in here. And this is a little bit different than my FitnessPal. I think I used my FitnessPal back in the day, and then I swapped over to Chronometer. I can't remember why, but I've really liked it since then. And it's literally just a search. Blackberries raw. Gonna find it. And then the one little kind of like quirky thing down here is you'll notice there's like some pretty weird serving sizes. It's like a cup would mean 144 grams. So I'm just gonna find the one that standardizes down to 1 ounce. And he asked for 12 ounces of blackberries, 12 ounces, hit add. So now just go double check on it. I've got 12 ounces. So total energy, can you see that, or should I zoom in?
Dude, that's a lot of blackberries.
So 12 ounces
what I'm
of
seeing
blackberries.
Here is a nice low-cal hack.
Yeah, 150 calories. And then it even breaks it down for you here, which is super nice. You don't have to go and do a lot of this work. It tells you how much protein you got, how many carbs you got, how much fat you got. And you notice for me, I've got, the last time I tracked, I think was in 2020. So my most recent calorie target was 2617. Here's my budget, my remaining calories left. And then it's even got targets for what I'm trying to hit day over day with my macros. So there's so many. And then the one thing I found with Chronometer is they were really good about tracking a lot of the micros, a lot of the nuance or the details within the foods. MyFitnessPal, I think, is awesome. It's got a lot of foods added with it. I think it's a little more, maybe this one might be a bit more detailed, but
Yeah.
it's really whatever works a little bit better for you, whatever induces more compliance. Like if you like to use it more often, use that app. If you like tracking it personally more often, do that. Whichever is going to make it easier for compliance to increase, really.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, I was joking. I was like to Bitfinesse, I was like, yo, why do you want us to look at blackberries? But
Yeah.
this dude out here getting shredded, eating like just barrels of blackberries. That's sweet. I didn't remember them being that low. Interesting.
Yeah, berries are usually pretty good like that.
1 cup. Bro. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. 1 cup. I have 1 cup is 62 calories.
You have 1 cup as 62.
That's a lot of blackberries to go through. That's a really good snack. Like, guys, you want to go through like a 180 calorie snack where you can just munch on it for a good 20 minutes straight and not blow through 1,000 calories like you would with chips. That's a good option. You know, we could probably do an episode just on lower calorie hacks, honestly.
Yep, absolutely.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, here was a good comment that he might have popped off, but your body will always track calories better than you. 100%.
Dude, people hate that though. They hate how true that is.
Yeah, we can do our best to guess. We can make very educated guesses, but yeah, your body is the master. It holds the key there. So,
anyone have any questions on anything we went over? In terms of like outliers, places that don't have nutrition calculators attached to it, because that's its own unique skill set in and of itself. Is kind of like if you're in the moment and you just can't do any of this stuff, which is fair, that's going to happen. That's where the good rule of thumb is like, hey, yeah, if you're eating out, I would save at least 12 to 1,400 calories. If that frustrates you that it's that high, once again, that's not my decision. I don't run the restaurants of this country, of America, at least. It is what it is right now. So better to be prepared. And also look at it's our third episode is what is metabolism and is it preventing your weight loss? We go into how to build your metabolism to handle a higher calorie count without losing weight, or rather without gaining weight. So you can be better prepared to operate culturally in America. And once again, this really applies to anywhere, obviously. But the point is if you go to a restaurant and you can't track it and you don't have any of these things and just you're kind of thrown into it or you switch where you're going last minute, that shit happens. That's okay. Yeah. But go high. And then worst case scenario, if you're tracking data, which we'll get into that in one of the future episodes, you're going to know if you were right or wrong. It's like you can guess whatever the receipt's going to say, but the bank account's going to show you what it really is. Yeah. That's really all that matters, right? You could get a receipt that shows that the t-shirt costs $20, but does it matter if the bank account deducts 100?
Yeah,
probably not. You're going to be like, oh, probably was 100. And then you can make that change. So the point is you can identify if there's a big discrepancy if you have a good relationship with data, which is important. That's also a very touchy thing, but still goes into the whole equation overall. So yeah, any questions, I guess, at all? I think that's all I have on my end, honestly. We kind of went through stuff nicely there. It's been about an hour.
that was the end of my notes. That's right at the top of the hour. So yeah, let's try and do some questions if we got people hanging around. I got no other tabs. I didn't have any articles to pull up. I thought we just kind of talk about a really, really popular, I'm not going to call it a problem, just a common, I would say that just like barrier, or not even barrier, just like common thing that's day to day in most people's life, especially if you're living in North America. I like to eat out. I'm sure most of you listening like to eat out at times. Yeah. And understand the game and play it, or like use that to your advantage for how to incorporate it is really like one of the big takeaways is there are tools available to help you incorporate it in a better manner, just given a little bit of effort. And that is, I guess, one of the big steps that needs to happen first is just to take on that challenge of understanding that and then figuring out a solution for yourself. For some people, it might be a manner very similar to kind of what we were presenting today. For other people, like the one guy we were talking to for Corey, it might not be.
Yeah, I mean, guys, you're gonna make mistakes with this stuff too. Like the only reason why I found out how wrong I was about Tex-Mex food, specifically Mexican food, whatever you want to call it. I'm from New York. It is what it is. But the point is I only found out how wrong I was by mistracking it and then having the data show me I was incorrect.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. And I had to keep going higher and higher. And I'm like, wow, I'm really a monster.
Yeah.
But I would rather figure it out versus make the same mistake over and over and just, oh, see, this whole calorie stuff just doesn't work for me. It works. It's there. It's just, whatever methodology, that's fair. But at the end of the day, it's always going to come back to this stuff, regardless of how you choose to implement your own strategy for success. But I will say you can only avoid this stuff for so long. Hopefully you get lucky and you never get in a situation where you kind of need to dive into this stuff a little bit. But it's becoming less common. I'll say this: exercise is becoming less common in America, that you can totally ignore this stuff and just do the usual things, which is just eat healthier, go be active, yada, yada, yada. The things that worked in the 90s that don't really work these days. And it's like, guys, we have a Starbucks down the street. We're inside most of the day. Kids are streaming Fortnite. That's the situation. How do we make this work? How do we get more educated and effective? So take with it and do with it what you will. But it's really, really incredible stuff when you build a good relationship with it. It's very rewarding, and it gives you control over an area of your life that typically most people never feel in control of, which is your health. So just like Hex does with finances.
Yeah, it puts you in the driver's seat, and you will be able to predict and manipulate to whichever outcome you want, as long as you adhere to the principles that you understand, or that kind of define what happens on the back end or on the outcome end. Then that will occur. So like Ryan said, the methodology is obeying these underlying principles. And we're both of the mindset that, well, you might as well, or you will benefit almost certainly to really, really dive in and understand some of them. And then one day, maybe employ them if you're currently not.
Any questions on Wendy's takeout? Anything at all?
Opie effing Taylor, we do not recommend trend, unfortunately. Got our constant ticker in here. That's been pretty cool to have.
Yeah. Melv is a real MVP here. We're all dying to see Hex break out here in the weekly. Yeah. Enough of this Wendy's shit. When's Hex breaking out on the freaking weekly so I can go get my Wendy's and be excited?
Yeah.
But cool. I mean, dude, I'm good if you are, man. I mean, we're close to the hour mark. Unless anybody's got final questions. Guys, if you haven't yet, check out our first 4 episodes, is it?
Yeah, first 4. This episode 5, just addressing what I think is a super common barrier or obstacle to like achieving goals, and just just understanding that, like, hey, it can be included in your methodology, in your practice to achieve your outcome, and not to demonize it, not to stray away from it for days or weeks or months on end because you think you have to achieve a certain goal. It is doable and attainable doing that. I'm good to stop there. Just over an hour. Cool. I think Wales, if you guys are here in the chat, Wales is streaming. Go over and hop into his chat, see what he's up to.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys, as always.
And next Monday, as per usual, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Discourse Syndicate. We'll be coming back at you.
Yep. Absolutely. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet. We typically know like a day or so before, but if you guys have extra questions or topics you'd like us to talk about, put them in the comments if you can, or in the comments here in the stream, and we'll get to them, especially if it makes a lot of sense. We can't think of everything, but we really appreciate you guys. Appreciate Discourse Syndicate, all the peeps working really hard to make this channel happen. So
Sure. All right, guys, we will catch you next time. Later.